Hey guys, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm. Today I'm bringing you my February wrap-up. In February, I only read 2.5 books. That said, they were all pretty chunky, so I don't think I did too bad, but I am a little bit disappointed because I used to read over 9 books a month. Mark says I never used to have a life, but books are my life and he just needs to get used to that. That said, let me just get into them and show you what I read. The first book I finished throughout the month of February was Let Me Lie by Claire Mackintosh. This is a brand new release. It's getting published on the 8th of March in the US. Claire Mackintosh herself actually sent this to me in the post, so I just want to say a big thank you very, very much. This is a book about a girl called Anna who is suffering the loss of both of her parents, who committed suicide a few months after one another. Anna now has a young baby of her own and she starts to really miss her parents and need them. She finds herself asking the question what really happened to her parents, but asking that question endangers her life, and digging at the past could potentially be life-threatening. I absolutely loved her debut novel, I Let You Go, and she's fast becoming one of my favourite authors. The only book of hers that I have not yet read is I See You, which I recently acquired and plan to pick up as soon as I finish the book I'm currently reading. This book was not as good as her debut novel in my eyes. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This book is not what I expected whatsoever, and for the first half of the book it felt like it had been written by a different author from what I'd experienced in her debut novel. There was this big paranormal element throughout the entire first part of the book, and it just gave it such a different feel. As with her debut novel though, it starts really slow burning and then about halfway through it just completely blindsides you. Claire Mackintosh alternates her chapters predominantly between the main characters and detectives, and while in I Let You Go I wasn't a really big fan of the detective chapters, I just didn't really see the point, I didn't really get their whole side of the story, it just kind of felt like filler. In this book I absolutely loved the detective part in it. It is jammed with twists, but the biggest theory I had about this book did turn out to be what was really happening. And that said, I feel like if you are a seasoned thriller reader, then this could perhaps be a little bit too predictable for you. I also found it quite repetitive. Claire Mackintosh spent over a decade in the police force, and while I feel like that gave the entire story a very thorough and solid feel on the police procedures, there were still certain things that I felt were a little bit too unrealistic for me. This book tackles a lot of serious topics such as mental health, alcoholism, abuse, and suicide. The next book that I read, I am absolutely raving about right now, and if you go onto my Instagram, boho_bookworm, you will see that I'm busy hosting an international giveaway where you can win a copy of this book. This was a 5-star read for me, and it is about a 38-year-old alcoholic, self-medicating recluse, also called Anna. This Anna witnesses something that she is not supposed to see through her window. She's imprisoned by her agoraphobia, which is an extreme fear of public and open spaces. This really limits Anna to what she can do to help her neighbours. And upon calling the police, she realises that no one actually believes that what she saw really happened. Everyone from the detectives to her neighbours are calling her delusional and crazy. And she starts to wonder if she really is losing her mind. I was really hesitant to pick up this book because I felt like it would be a complete carbon copy of The Girl on the Train, and while there are definite similarities, such as the unreliable main character who is an alcoholic who witnesses something through her window, my fear was still wrong. The agoraphobia is an element to this book that I found absolutely fascinating. It's a mental health condition that I don't know much about at all, but I have heard from several other readers that do have it or are very well acquainted with the condition that Finn described it very accurately. Very often in a book I find that I'm very disappointed with the way an author will portray a mental health state such as depression or anxiety. I just feel like they don't really give the condition justice. In this book I found that AJ Finn was really informative. What I also found extremely interesting is that AJ Finn himself has had personal experience with mental health. He was incorrectly diagnosed with bipolar for over 15 years. I found this book incredibly well written. It was unpredictable, atmospheric, and as psychological thrillers go, I could not figure out what was going to happen. The twists were truly shocking. One would think that the main character, Anna, would be extremely unlikable with her alcoholism, nosiness, and just complete and utter messiness, but she is such a strong female character, and I found myself so drawn to her and rooting for her. Her story is extremely painful and it broke my heart. At many times I found myself close to tears. The chapters in this book are really short, and that makes it a very quick, easy read despite its slower pace. I couldn't put it down, and I am really excited to see what Fox 2000 does with the movie adaptation. The final book that I am still busy reading is Still Me by Jojo Moyes. This is the third book in the Me Before You series, which follows Louisa Clark just being Louisa Clark. The first book I absolutely loved. I bawled my eyes out in a way that a book has never made me do before. The second book, After You, I found so disappointing, and I was really hesitant to pick this up, but I'm really happy to tell you that I feel like the third book is starting to feel more like the real Louisa Clark that we came to love in book one. I feel like she's back, and this is just a much better portrayal of who she is. Book two, there was just no character development. It was honestly quite depressing. In this book, Louisa Clark goes to New York, and she is looking after this Polish woman who is married to an older man, and she just kind of has to be her companion and look after her. And she's not really handling things well because it's very high society, and all the New York women who are friends with this old man's ex-wife just don't like her and they give her grief. But I am now halfway through this book, and I've just started listening to it on Audible as well because I'm hoping I can try and finish it before the end of the month. And I feel like there's something a little bit off about this Polish woman, and that, in a way, it kind of makes it a little bit suspenseful, but it's full of the humour and the fun, and you know, it's the British humour that I love, and I don't really read much chick lit anymore. So it's really nice, as you know, it was the month of February. I had to read something romantic over February and Valentine's Day, and I'm not disappointed in it. And to be honest, I think I'm going to start reading a bit more of chick lit sometimes, just to break it up a little bit, because it does get a little bit much with so many gritty psychological thrillers. So there you have it. Even though I didn't read much this month, I am still hoping to have a better reading month in March. Let's keep our fingers crossed that I actually have more time on my hands to do some more reading. Maybe I'll start with some thinner books. I'm also planning on getting more into audiobooks again. It's been a while since I really took the time to listen to one, but now that I'm, you know, using public transport and I can put in my earphones and zone out with a book, I think it's going to be a lot easier. Let me know how your reading month in February went, and I'll come back to you soon with my March TBR. Have a wonderful day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.